Today, we're talking about a career move you've probably never even considered. But it's one where you, yes, you in HR, might just be the hero that a whole industry has been waiting for. We're going to map out the journey from human resources into the absolutely critical world of cybersecurity.
So let's just start with a kind of provocative question. What if the single most important person in a company's cybersecurity defense isn't in the IT department at all, but is actually sitting in HR? I know, it sounds a little out there, right? But just stick with me, because it's not as crazy as it sounds.
See, here's the fundamental truth. For decades, we've thrown technology at the cybersecurity problem. But what are the biggest risks today? Phishing attacks, data leaks, insider threats. These aren't really technology problems. They're people problems. And in any organization, who are the experts on people? Exactly. You are. So let's dig into why this isn't some massive leap into the unknown. We're calling this section HR Cybersecurity Superpower for a reason. You're coming to the table with a set of skills that the security world desperately needs right now. This is where it all starts to make sense. Look at how your skills map directly to cybersecurity needs. You're an expert in change management, right? Well, that's what it takes to get an entire company to actually adopt a new security tool. Your entire world revolves around policy and governance. That's the backbone of creating security controls that work. You already handle the most sensitive personal data, so you get risk awareness. And your grounding in ethics and law? That's the core of regulatory compliance. You see? You're not starting from zero. You're just pointing your superpowers in a new direction. Okay, now of course there is a little bit of a new language to learn, but please, don't let the technical jargon scare you off. Let's break down a couple of the biggest concepts you'll need to know. First up, you're going to hear about the CIA triad all the time. This is basically the foundation of everything in information security. It's really simple. Confidentiality is the data being kept secret from people who shouldn't see it. Integrity, has the data been changed or messed with? And availability, can the right people get to the data when they need it? Pretty much every security decision comes back to balancing these three things. Next up is GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance. And this one should feel right at home for you. Honestly, the best way to think about GRC is that it's the employee handbook for cybersecurity. It's the collection of all the rules, the policies, the procedures, and the audits that guide how a company handles security. It's your world, just with a cyber focus. All right, so with a few of those key concepts under your belt, you're probably starting to wonder, okay, but what would I do? Where would I actually fit into this world? Well, let's look at some real, concrete jobs where an HR pro could step in and make a huge difference. There are so many options, but here are a few perfect examples. How about a security awareness manager? You'd be using your training and development skills to teach the whole company how to be safer online. Or a privacy officer, where you're leveraging your deep knowledge of policy and compliance. A GRC analyst is a natural fit for your risk management background. See, these aren't just entry-level gigs. They're vital roles where your HR experience isn't just a bonus, it's the main event. Feeling a little excited? Little intrigued? Good, because this isn't just a vague idea. There's a real, structured path to get you there. So let's walk through a roadmap for this transformation. Look, this isn't going to happen overnight, but it is a totally manageable journey. For the first few months, you just focus on the basics, getting those core concepts and privacy laws down. Then you can move into more intermediate stuff, like actually designing a training program. After about 9 months or so, you can really start to specialize and get some hands-on experience. And the most important part? It's all about continuous learning, which, let's be honest, is a skill you've already mastered in HR. Now, as you're going down this road, you'll probably want some way to prove your new skills, to formalize that knowledge. And that, of course, is where certifications can really help. Think of these as your road signs. The CompTIA Security Plus is a fantastic place to start for just a solid overall foundation. If you find you're really passionate about the data privacy side of things, the CIPP is the absolute gold standard. And later on, if you're leaning into management or risk, things like the CISM or CRISC become super valuable. The key is you don't need all of them. You just pick the ones that match the career track you're building for yourself. All right, you've got the vision, you've got a potential roadmap. Now for the really important part. How do you actually make this happen? How do you land the role and start making a real impact? Here it is, your 5-step action plan. First, do that skills audit we talked about. Then start building a portfolio. You don't have to wait for a new job title. Document the security-related work you're already doing. A huge one is to look for hybrid roles or volunteer for security projects inside your current company. Talk to the security team, maybe even shadow one of them for a day. Find a mentor. And finally, start networking in those cybersecurity and privacy circles. As you're doing all that, you have to build your personal brand around this idea. You need to own this story. You are the bridge connecting the people side and the tech side of the business. You can write about it, talk about it in meetings, and use numbers to prove it. Showing that a training program you designed led to a 20% drop in employees clicking on phishing links, well, that's incredibly powerful.
So, how will you know you're succeeding? Well, it's not just about getting a new job title. True success is a mix. A big piece is those hard numbers, the quantitative metrics, like improving phishing resistance. But it's also the qualitative stuff, getting great feedback from your colleagues, being seen as a collaborator. And yeah, it's also about hitting those personal career milestones, like earning that certification or making that official move into a new role.
I really want this to be the main takeaway for you. Your HR background is not something you have to overcome. It is your single greatest asset. Businesses are absolutely starving for people who can translate the technical stuff into practical human processes that actually work. That is your unique value. That's your superpower. The journey from HR to cybersecurity hero is real, it's doable, and honestly, it's never been more necessary. So the only real question left to ask is the one right here on the screen. What's your first step gonna be?